Did you grow up Christian?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't, yeah, go ahead.
Are you religious? Are you religious now?
I sort of cringe every time I say this. I'm deeply spiritual, but to a comic, I'll say it's tied for comedy. Like my interest in spirituality or living spirit is tied for comedy. That's how important it is to me. But I'm not religious. I don't go to church.
But you grew up every Sunday. I mean, devout.
My church was more fundamentalist than my parents were. But that doesn't really matter. Like they're the ones. They were the authorities. The people at my church, and they were well-meaning, good people. But I took it real serious. So when you tell me that everyone I know is going to hell, I mean, talk about, it's a trauma. If you really believe that.
Yeah.
I wrote this in my book. I wrote a book about it called Comedy, Sex, God. I was like, these people had cars and keys and licenses and money and shiny shoes and khaki. You know what I mean? Like you're a kid and they're telling you, if you don't say this prayer, and what the words we would use is say, let Jesus into your heart and believe that he died for your sins, then you go to a lake of fire for conscious eternal torment. And then you go, well, how many Buddhists are there? How many Jews are there? How many people died in the Holocaust? How many people never heard about it? So you get into all this absurd, we always used to be like, well, what if you were raised on an island and you never heard about Jesus? And then a coconut hits you and would be like, well, then you'd still go to heaven because, or you know what we used to say?
Did you question that?
Of course.
Out loud?
It wasn't questioning. We were looking for how God would still get you. Because there's a line in the New Testament that it's basically about how nature is the first Bible and it would witness to you and you could still accept or deny it. So it would whisper Jesus to you essentially. I'm not saying that to put Jesus down. I'm just saying like you were still accountable. My friend Rob Bell wrote this book called Love Wins that really changed my life. And he makes a point that really feels like a point a comedian should make. It's called the age of accountability. This is a dark joke. It's his point. It's his joke. But he goes, if before the age of 7, a lot of different churches have something called the age of accountability, meaning if you die before that age, you are not accountable because you weren't fully formed. You couldn't have made a choice for or against our
That's
God.
what the bar mitzvah is in Judaism.
13?
Yeah. Today I am a man. That's why you say you're a man, because now you're accountable for your transgression.
There's a Jewish joke here about how you negotiated like 5-6 more years.
We did.
We're 7.
It's a deal.
You guys were like, I don't know from 7. I think we could do 13. I don't know. Is this voice okay? Anyway, so I'm saying he makes the point, wouldn't it be more compassionate if we're talking about eternity versus a finite time on earth to kill people then? Before they turn 7.
Right.
By the way, there are mentally ill people that have come to that same conclusion. It's a very dark, literal interpretation. And I started, unraveling. It was all hell that made me unravel. I went to Israel to study for 6 months, all asking rabbis and Christian theologians only about hell. That's all I wanted to know about. But that's what
you were sure you were headed that way. Is that why?
I wanted to know if they really believed it and what they really believed. But we could break it down. They're annihilationists. There's some Christians called annihilationists, which believe the wages of sin is death, not the wages of sin is eternal torment. I hope this is interesting to some of you.
It's interesting to me.
Well, so the Bible, Paul says the wages of sin is death, he doesn't say the wages of sin is hell. So that means you die. But if you believe in Jesus, you go to heaven. So it's like nothing or heaven, but a little bit more compassionate, lights off, not tortured. There's that. There's, Calvinists, the predetermined ones. It's all been decided ahead of time. There's people who believe in purgatory. You get another chance, all this sort of stuff. But in that questioning, something kind of magical happened was I just started getting involved in spiritual curiosity. And then when my wife left me, and when my model of a God who was protecting me, because I didn't smoke, drink, swear, or have sex before I was married, so I thought I was minted, but here this bad thing happened to me anyway, I was like, what's the deal? You know what I mean? I've said this before, but I felt like I was paying into the mafia to protect me. Someone still burned down my bakery. Like, what? What? I did everything you told me to do. I'm out here saying freck instead of fuck. Isn't that what you want? And still my wife left me. In my feeling at the time, the worst thing that could have happened. So that made me question about what was really going on.
Wow.
Which is actually really interesting. If you consider the main symbol of Christianity is a crucified man. And I'm out here going like, if I believe in God, everything should go my way. The symbol of the faith is a crucified and bleeding out Son of God. That symbol is so powerful to me too now, because the whole thing is saying me too. God isn't watching your suffering. God is involved in your suffering. God is suffering with you. And I would even radically say, as you. It's your carrying your piece of the mystery that's coming in as suffering with God, not God going like, well, sorry, I didn't mean to preach here today. But
no,
like,
but you should.
I do like talking about it.
I like listening to it, and I find it fascinating.